How's it going, everyone? It is I, Anime Outlet, and this is What If Naruto Had the Rinnegan. And now, before I begin, I would just like to say I'm sorry if this What If isn't up to the standard quality that my My Hero Academia ones are. As to simply put it, I've never done a Naruto What If before, and so I'm probably not as good as it as I am with like the My Hero Academia ones. So excuse me if this isn't as good. Remember, it is my only first ever Naruto What If. Also, after watching this video, please put your suggestions for what I can do better, or your thoughts on how good this was, how bad it was, in the comments section below. So now, let's begin with my first Naruto What If. To start this What If off, we start with the scene that started it all, the Nine-Tails Fox attacking the village of Konoha. As we end up looking on, seeing the fox go and ravage throughout the city, killing many innocent people and families. This is where the fourth Hokage, Minato, would end up coming along and using his immense sealing knowledge to seal the Nine-Tails Fox away into his newly born child, Naruto. However, something was off about his son. You see, he wasn't born like every other normal person. He was born with some weird type of eyes, purplish eyes, as these eyes are known as the Rinnegan. Now, if you're asking how the hell did Naruto somehow be born with the Rinnegan when Minato and Kushina don't possess anything that has the quality of Rinnegan? Well, to answer it simply, he's just going to be born with it for anime logic and simplicity purposes. As I feel like if he was born with the Rinnegan, then he's going to have access to a lot more strength, and just it would make the story a hell of a lot more interesting. However, with the sealing of the Nine-Tails Fox into Naruto, this would cause the death of Kushina and Minato. However, the third Hokage would end up hearing a wish from Minato and Kushina, asking for him to raise Naruto and just to make him a great ninja, hoping to make him something like the caliber that he was. And Zuko would basically have a much different childhood than the one we see in canon Naruto, as Naruto wouldn't grow up in his tiny little crappy apartment drinking expired milk. He would actually grow up in a pretty decent-sized house, and the third Hokage would actually focus more of his energy into Naruto, even though he couldn't focus much as he still was a Hokage. The third Hokage, Hiruzen, would end up looking deep into Izuku's eyes and would know something was just special about this little kid. And although he would just basically set him up so that he wouldn't have to pay any money for his house, he really did Naruto a favor and actually gave him a surplus of money so that he could basically somewhat take care of himself. However, Naruto is still going to be the boy that can take care of himself and grows up basically taking care of himself, as he lives in a house that basically has Minato's immense library of different types of jutsu books and all of just random assortments of things. And so with Naruto really having little to no friends at all due to his eyes and the fact that everyone in the village knew what was inside of him, he would have nowhere else to go but the study library thing inside his own house. As every time Izuku would try to go outside, somewhere else, trying to walk the streets, even going to buy food, he would get tormented by the stares and looks of the random people of Konoha would give him, staring at him just as if treating him, this little boy, like he was some type of demon. And while yes, he had basically a demon sealed inside of him, that didn't make him one himself. And it didn't help that his eyes were different from everybody else's, as everyone knew of the Sharingan, the Byakugan, but very, very little civilians knew of something of such caliber that was the Rinnegan. And because of this, they wouldn't know what immense power that Naruto held within his own eyes. And this, they would end up bullying him for just looking different, bullying him for his eyes, casting him out from the rest of society. And this would cause him to go deep into his father's library, reading all of these books, reading about chakra natures, reading about just jutsus, taijutsus, all of these assortments of things, genjutsus, how to try to effectively use it. And he would go into the backyard training these, as even the third Hokage would end up setting up just a wood pole that Izuku could throw kunais at, practicing. And this immense training would cause Naruto to end up learning how to grasp basically all 5 of the basic chakra natures. He was just such a strong person at this young of an age of around 5 to 6. He was what you could call a prodigy due to his eyes, and it also didn't help that the Nine-Tails Fox inside of him, with all of this immense to him, it would allow him to effectively use the Rinnegan more and more as he got older, not just bending to the immense power it was since he was so young, with such a massive amount of chakra that the Rinnegan needed to basically survive. So as Naruto would end up growing up, he would end up basically just living a life of canon Naruto. However, he wouldn't be the menace and troublemaker to Konoha that he was in canon, rather being a more quiet type person, sort of like Sasuke. However, he also wouldn't be the overconfident one like Sasuke that had all of the praise in the world, all the people looking at him just saying how he was such a cool person, how he was just the best at everything. Naruto didn't have that. He was bullied, he had no friends, and so he was basically humbled from his very birth, having no parents, and having to grow up by himself, teaching himself how to do things. This would give Naruto a hard-working personality, think sort of like Lee, or Rock Lee, as Izuku. My bad, I just caught myself saying Izuku. I might do that a couple times this series, I apologize if I do. Still kinda gotta get all the MHA, or Izuku stuff and transfer into the Naruto stuff for these what-ifs. So, as we end up cutting forward to see Naruto sitting in the back of the class, reading another one of just chakra books, reading about all of the different doujutsus that there were. As he would be reading on and on about the Sharingan and the Sharingan and Byakugan, he would flip to one of the last pages, as he would end up seeing a picture of his same eyes, the eyes he had seen staring on back at him through a mirror 1,000 times. Naruto would look towards the page, just kind of shocked. He was just basically sure that all the bullying, it wasn't some sort of doujutsu, it was basically just a deformity. But as he read and read and read, he would end up finding out that the only reason he was able to master those basic 5 chakra natures with ease was possibly because of the Rinnegan, just boosting his success. And so as Naruto would read and further learning all about just the Rinnegan's abilities, he would end up shutting the book before being called up, as we end up seeing Naruto walk up to the front of the classroom, Iruka-sensei staring at him. "Alright, Naruto, you ready for the test?" As Naruto would walk up to the front of the classroom, Iruka-sensei would end up telling him to perform the clone technique. As he would end up doing the hand signs, all of a sudden a perfect clone of Iruka-sensei would go and appear in a puff of smoke right next to Naruto. As Iruka-sensei would nod his head towards the young boy, checking off his name before handing him headband. As Naruto would smile, looking down at it, he would walk back up to his seat, sitting back down, watching the rest of his class just go up and perform the jutsu successfully. After class, Naruto would end up walking out, deciding not to just go through the entire graduation ceremony and all of that. He knew if he was standing up there, all the parents would end up just looking at him, frowning at him in shame that their own children were in the class with the demon boy. So Naruto would just leave, going back to his house, much rather to train than to go through some useless thing that really wouldn't get him anywhere. So because Naruto would end up passing this final exam, his just encounter with Mizuki would never end up happening, and so he would never learn just the shadow clone jutsu technique that we all know Naruto for. And so, because of this, Naruto would basically be absent of this huge clone technique that basically kind of formed a lot of Naruto's personality in the coming episodes after learning it. However, this really doesn't do much. In fact, Naruto would end up just going right back into class. He's still the same smart, just prodigy, with now just a more powerful eye of Rinnegan, which is so much more powerful than what Naruto was in canon at this point in time. So we end up seeing Naruto walk into class for their team assignments. As he would end up walking in, he would end up sitting down, as you would end up seeing all of the girls crowded around Sasuke Uchiha. He would stare on towards him, sort of just wondering, why was Sasuke always just so popular and not him? However, he would shake his head, just disrupting that train of thought. No, I shouldn't be thinking about these things. They'll get in the way of my training. He would think to himself, as we end up going back to when Naruto was just a young little kid, as he would end up going up to Sakura, telling her how much he liked him, or how much he liked her, and that they should be friends. However, every single time Sakura would continue just smack Naruto down, smacking him down over and over again. And finally, after a couple of weeks, Naruto would end up just getting tired of it, just leaving behind his feelings for Sakura, and Naruto wouldn't be just in love with Sakura like he was. So when his name gets called, and then Sakura, Naruto would end up just shaking his head, kind of disappointed he had to get stuck with someone who was just going to admire the likes of Sasuke for the entire time instead of using her abilities and training them to their fullest ability. You see, Naruto didn't have much of a rivalry with Sasuke. In fact, Naruto actually respected Sasuke a lot, as he would end up seeing Sasuke training most times as he was walking back from his house after going to get food. And so, there was basically a form of respect between them. However, Sasuke didn't have as much of a respect for Naruto, kind of seeing him as the demon boy the rest of the villagers had thought, as his own clan had basically treated Naruto like that up until they were all killed by Itachi. So we end up seeing all of Team 7 standing up at the rooftop of just the school they went to, all standing up there for what seemed like hours, as their sensei had failed to even show up. As they would all be sitting there, Naruto would end up just getting up off his desk. As they weren't actually on the ceiling, they were still in the classroom, not even at the rooftop yet. So as all of them were sitting there, Naruto would get tired of it, walking over to the door, reaching towards the handle, and pulling it open, where he would end up seeing their sensei, Kakashi standing there in the doorway. He would greet all of them before walking in, introducing himself. Yo, I'm Kakashi, and it looks like I'm gonna be your Team 7 sensei, huh? Well, let's all meet at the rooftop in 5 minutes so we can introduce ourselves, alright? As he would then disappear into a puff cloud of smoke, Naruto would end up just getting agitated. What was with Kakashi just going and disappearing all of a sudden? As he ended up walking to the rooftop, they would all stand there, where Kakashi would end up going there after around 20 minutes, a far cry from the 5 minutes they had all agreed to. So, let's begin. Like I said, I'm Kakashi. Now you, with the black hair, would say, pointing towards Sasuke, what's your name? I'm Sasuke Uchiha. He would say, before giving this exact speech he would say in canon, where he would then point to Sakura, where she would say that she's Sakura and that she loves Sasuke. And he would then point to Naruto, who would just say he's Naruto Uzumaki, and he wants to become the Hokage in the future. Both Sasuke and Sakura would both laugh at him, basically still kind of treating him like dirt, which Naruto would end up just laughing at him, just sort of telling them, if you're gonna laugh at me now, just wait until you see what I'm capable of, he would say, cracking his fingers, as Kakashi would end up catching a glimpse of Naruto's eyes. As Kakashi would end up staring towards him and looking at them, sort of mesmerized. He had never seen them in person at all. He had only read about the Rinnegan in books, and he was quite shocked that they even existed in the first place. It was sort of the stuff of legend, something so powerful, and yet in just the eyes of a 13-year-old kid, it didn't really make much sense. And I'm thinking, if Naruto would be trained by the right person, he could basically have the power to destroy an entire village with the just flick of his wrist. As Kakashi would be thinking this, he would tell them to meet him at a training ground the next morning, and he would advise them not to eat any breakfast. As all of the 3 students would end up going back to their respective houses, Naruto would end up walking into his bedroom, lying down, taking off his headband, putting it on to just a thing next to him. So he would end up just looking up at the sky and ceiling of his room. He would look out the window to realize that he must have fallen asleep, as it was already nighttime. And just being that he was too tired to even get out of bed, he decided to go right back to sleep. So the next morning, Naruto would end up getting up, stretching, as he would end up being reminded not to eat breakfast by Kakashi. However, Naruto, being the smart young person that he was, and having read a crack ton of books, he would know the importance of nutrition, and even if he were to not eat breakfast, or even if he were to eat breakfast, there really wouldn't be much of repercussions besides throwing up if they were to be trained that hard, and that honestly doesn't seem as bad as just being left going hungry. So Naruto would end up putting in just some ramen into a microwave before getting it out, as Naruto is still the same old Naruto, pretty much loving ramen. So we would end up eating it up before meeting up with Sakura and Sasuke at the proposed training grounds. Once there, Naruto and all of them would sit there waiting for another just couple of hours, as Kakashi would finally end up getting there, while the 2 beside him would end up having their stomachs rumble. Naruto, still full from his big ramen breakfast, would end up just sort of laughing. So you guys followed Kakashi-sensei's advice and not ate breakfast, huh? Yeah, wait, did you? Sakura would ask, kind of in shock, which Naruto would only just nod his head. Once Kakashi would arrive, he would end up showing them 2 bells in his hands, jingling them to them, saying that the to them was that only 2 of them could pass the test, and the 2 that got the bells were going to be able to eat lunch, while the person that didn't weren't. And also, if none of them managed to get any bells, then all of them would have to go back down to the school, and they would be failed, and he wouldn't take them on as his team. As Naruto would hearing this, all of the sons, Sakura and Sasuke would both jump out of nowhere, leaping into the trees, leaving Naruto by himself, all up against is just the squad leader, Kakashi. As Naruto would stare towards them, he would shake his head, putting up the hair out of his eyes before laughing. They really should have known the importance of teamwork here. I'm guessing that's what this entire thing is supposed to be about, huh? Working together. Wow, you're quite the clever boy, aren't you, Naruto? I suppose nonetheless from the 4th Hokage's son. So I guess you saw through it, that it's about teamwork. It's quite good. I'll give you a 30-second head start to go track down your 2 teammates and explain this to them. If not, I'll take you down swiftly and easily, and you'll be failed. Naruto would nod this before disappearing, rushing off into the forest, looking around for Sakura and Sasuke. As Sasuke would be staring down towards Naruto, as he would be running along the path. As Naruto, using his Rinnegan, would all of a sudden catch just some chakra being used in Sasuke's feet. Naruto would plant his feet to a halt before looking up right towards Sasuke. Sasuke, what are you doing? This entire assignment's meant on teamwork. Naruto would end up explaining, as Sasuke's eyes would end up widening. It is? And before he would end up jumping down. How did you figure this out? I asked Kakashi. It's both of you all left. It was actually quite simple to realize this. It's just... now we need to find Sakura. 30 seconds is up, Kakashi would say, appearing right behind Naruto, who would turn around throwing a kunai only for it to stick right into a tree. As this log of a tree would fall to the ground with a kunai sticking out of it. Just a replacement jutsu type thing. As Naruto would run towards it, all of a sudden Kakashi would end up appearing right in front of him, with a Chidori out in front. As he would know with Naruto's Rinnegan, he had to go full force if he wished to take down Naruto. Well, at least assuming so. So as Naruto would, seeing this, he would end up narrowly dodging it before looking on, diving out of the way, throwing 3 kunais right at Kakashi, who would then disappear right into the woods again. As Kakashi would end up disappearing, Sakura would come out of nowhere, meeting with both Naruto and Sasuke, who had both just been attacked by Kakashi. Meeting up with them, she would end up asking them what had happened, which they would both respond that Kakashi had been trying to attack them. Sakura would nod her head, as the 3 ninja would all walk throughout the forest, finally making it back towards the same training area that they had just met moments prior. As all of them would be there, all of a sudden Kakashi would jump attack them once again. As Naruto this time would use wind release, blowing out a massive amount of wind right out of his mouth, right towards Kakashi, blowing him back into the trees, causing Kakashi to disappear once again. However, this time he would appear right behind Naruto, performing the 1,000 years of death, just the 1,000 years of death, just technique. As Naruto would be sent flying into the river, the sun would end up using wind release again to use the water to splash down right onto Kakashi, startling him as he didn't expect Naruto to use the water to his advantage. This would cause Sasuke to jump in, throwing a kunai, slashing right through one of the bells, as it would be stuck to one of the trees behind. As Kakashi would see this, he would end up stopping it before just clapping it up for them. Bravo, bravo. Again, telling them all. I'm actually quite shocked. Naruto managed to hunt you all down and tell you it's about teamwork. At least he managed to do it in a quick way. Although I could have easily taken all three of you out with ease. There's still much improvement left for you all, but good job, you all pass. Jumping forward, we see Team 7 completing a bunch of just D-rank tasks that were basically just associated with of Genin. So because they were just getting D-rank missions, Naruto would end up pleading to the third Hokage to let them just take one C-rank mission, and deeming that it shouldn't be that hard, he would up just assigning them one, hoping that it would give them a little more of extra experience. Also knowing that Naruto is just how strong he is because of the Rinnegan that lies within his eyes. And so he would allow them, giving them a C-rank mission after the numerous D-rank missions that they had all successfully completed with ease. So they would end up being tasked with escorting a just designer for a bridge in the Land of Waves to just escort him back to the Land of Waves. So, however, as they were all walking back, transporting him there, they would be attacked by two Chunin level ninja. As Naruto ended up seeing this, all of a sudden he would end up activating his Rinnegan using one of the 6 paths. Naraka, if I'm pronouncing that right, summoning the King of Hell, as he would end up grabbing both of their necks with his hands, pulling them closer towards him. He would end up asking them who had sent them, which the two of them would both look at each other before saying that no one had sent them. They were just trying to kill the designer for the bridge. Naruto, this would end up activating the King of Hell, as he would then pull the tongues out of these two ninja, instantly killing them. As Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura, all shocked by Naruto's no-nonsense approach, and shocked that he had just killed 2 Chunin-level ninja in just without any just hesitation, they were all quite shocked. As Naruto would end up looking down towards them, Naruto would end up clenching his fists before shaking his head. They were lying. As they would end up continuing their journey, the bridge builder would look visibly shocked at this, but would know that there had been numerous deaths due to this bridge's construction, and it was only just a byproduct of it. So we then continue on, as they would end up encountering Zabuza. Naruto, sensing that this was another just ninja sent to kill the bridge builder, he would end up rushing towards him with a kunai in his hand before being yanked back by Kakashi. Kakashi would then reveal his Sharingan as the first fight with Zabuza would then go pretty much exactly like canon, where Naruto would up releasing Zabuza's grasp on Kakashi by just hiding a shuriken in the shadow of another. The fight would then continue on, basically just like canon, where Haku would then jump in, disguised as a Hunter Nin, and would take down Zabuza before taking him off. However, almost instantly Kakashi would know that Hunter Nin usually kill their just targets right there on the spot, and Naruto, also having read about this in many books, would see this as well. Quite confused as to why this was the case, both Naruto and Kakashi would know something more fishy was going on behind the scenes. So they would end up heading back towards the village that they were recently at, being in the waves. So Asuna would take Kakashi back to his house, where he would end up having him rest up while also getting treated by his family. So after this, Kakashi, after recovering a little bit, although having to use crutches, would take the 3 just Team 7 ninja out into the woods to earn some chakra training about how to climb a tree without the use of their hands. Sakura, being just quite good at this, would easily do it after the first couple of tries. However, Naruto, who had studied about this, would once again prove how he was a prodigy, climbing the tree with ease, much like Kakashi had just shown moments prior on his first try. leaving Sasuke who do it all by himself in the woods, as Sakura and Naruto would both leave him there, going off to do their own thing or own training. This would cause Sasuke not to have as much motivation to just do it over and over and over again until he mastered it, as Naruto wasn't there to push him forward to the next level, as Naruto was off just doing something else since he had already mastered it. Oh, Kashi, seeing that Naruto and Sakura were both already there and done, he would take the two students out to a river to teach them how to walk on water, where again Sakura and Naruto would both do it with ease. We go back to Sasuke, who is still struggling to manage to do it. However, each time he would end up getting higher, and higher. Quickly after this though, Sasuke would end up grasping the tree climbing technique and would end up getting to the top of it. Kakashi, knowing that he would just have to teach Sasuke the water walking technique another time, he would end up taking them all back to Tasuna's house, where they would rest up for the night. The next night, they would end up getting up, eating breakfast before going off towards the bridge, where they would end up seeing the bodies of just hundreds of bridge workers all lying on the ground, as a huge cloud of mist would end up rolling in, masking all of their vision. And that is where part 1 of my first ever Naruto what if Naruto had the Rinnegan comes to an end. I hope you all did enjoy this part, and I hope you all do enjoy the parts that are going to be following this. It was quite fun to make, and I know I made a couple of mistakes, but hopefully after quite some time and I get used to just making Naruto what ifs, those should slowly fade away, and I look forward to making better and better Naruto what ifs in the future. Like always, please leave your suggestions down in the comment section below of anything I can do better to make my what ifs just better and just so much nicer to listen to, or just any suggestions about what I should do in the background and any games I should play, and how you like this what if so far. I thank you all for subscribing. I thank you all for watching. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, please consider subscribing. It really does help this channel out. And yeah, I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.